Well, hello everyone. Jason Headrick here, and today we're going to be talking about resumes and what to do with the resume, how to plan a resume. I know a lot of you, now that you are away from the university, may be questioning, how does my resume work? What do I have? And looking at some of your resources. And so today, we're really fortunate that we have Julie Obermeyer with us. Julie is the Career Development and Corporate Relations Director for the College of Agricultural Sciences and Natural Resources here at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. And so, Julie, thanks for being with us today.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm really excited to meet everybody today and just give you some tips and tricks.
Good. Well, that's what we're looking for, is tips and tricks. We want to be there to help our students as much as possible. And so I've just got kind of a few questions that as an instructor I get from students as they're starting to look at their resume process. And for our class, for example, we have a resume as part of their final portfolio. And so as they begin to put those together over the next few weeks, I thought this would be helpful for them. So again, I appreciate you being with us. I'll kind of get started into my questions. So one of the things I hear from students is, I have a resume from high school. Will that work for my purposes? What are your thoughts on that high school resume?
Absolutely. That's a question I get a lot. I have a resume from high school, but I have a resume from junior college or something that I brought in.
Yeah.
Both are amazing documents and a great place to start, but I will tell you, you'll want to transition them a little bit to where you are in life in this stage now. So there is a huge difference.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the difference will sit in that I bet your documents right now are more achievement based. So where have I volunteered? What medals have I got? What honors have I got? Which is fantastic. That got you to this point.
Mm-hmm.
Now we need to transition that a little bit and make it more skills focused and more experience focused.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I know my high school resume, if I'm thinking back on it, was probably like 8 pages, but it was volunteer work and those sort of things. So yeah, that makes sense that you need to transition it a bit. So bringing that kind of up, how long should a resume be?
That's a great question too. Because yes, we did come into college with huge resumes.
Mm-hmm.
But all the studies are showing that most employers look at your resume for a total of 30 seconds.
Okay.
I'm even starting to read more and more about employers reading it anywhere from 7 to 12 seconds.
Wow.
So we've got to be pretty concise about how we're writing these.
Mm-hmm.
I would recommend a one-page resume, which isn't easy, but that's what we're here to help with.
Okay, good. That's good tips. What if students, what if they don't have experience? As they're looking for internships or full-time jobs, one of the things that some of the questions sometimes is, I don't have experience. And so, what if they don't have that experience?
I love this question because I didn't have a job in high school. So when I transitioned into college and started my resume, I had to get really creative too.
Mm-hmm.
My advice to a student who says, I don't have any true jobs outside of the home or outside of what I was involved in high school is you didn't have to get paid to put an experience on your resume.
Mm-hmm.
If you were the leader of your National Honor Society, if you were a chapter president of or leader in FFA, 4-H, any of those things, that counts. Show leadership, and we can include that in your resume as an activities and experience block.
Okay.
Because really an employer is looking for what are those transferable skills more than anything. What have you achieved? As you're a part of the university, hopefully we get some more experience closer related to where you want to go job-wise.
Mm-hmm.
But right away, there is no expectation that you have that experience.
That's good advice, because I think so many students get kind of wrapped up in the I don't have this experience that they're looking for, but I think if you can show those skills that are transferable, that's a great way to do that. So speaking of the transferable skills and how to show that, and also knowing that an employer will look at your resume a very limited amount of time, what sections should a resume include?
It's a great question too. So the first thing an employer is going to look for is definitely your contact information.
Mm-hmm.
So make sure you have that on your resume. Make sure you've got your email and your phone number at the very least on there. Then a lot of people think it needs to have an objective statement. You
Mm-hmm.
really don't have to have an objective statement
Okay.
anymore. That's something that usually is an obvious thing to an employer.
Mm-hmm.
If you're trying to make a connection between the job and your experiences or why you should be hired, we can include one. But otherwise, I wouldn't worry about it.
Okay.
The first thing they really want to see then is your education. So what are you truly, what degree are you obtaining right now?
Mm-hmm.
Would we include a lot of high school information in this resume? By this point in your semester, probably not. I would say we get rid of it. Unless you don't have a lot on there, then we could absolutely leave it.
Mm-hmm.
But your entire resume is what am I presently doing to what did I do way in the past?
Mm-hmm.
So your present education is first. Then I'm going to say you want to have your experiences, and we're going to put these in blocks with bullets. We're not going to include paragraphs or anything like that. We can help you write a fancy bullet. Don't worry about that.
Yeah.
We're going to include those experiences. Then every employer wants to see more of those transferable skills. So things like leadership,
Mm-hmm.
volunteering, teamwork, a lot of those transferable skills are built in your outside and extracurricular activities.
Mm-hmm.
So they like to make sure that you're involved in at least two things. Don't go overboard unless that's your personality.
Mm-hmm.
So feel free to join one organization that is related to your career path and then pick something that's really fun.
Yeah.
Whatever your interest level is, go for it.
Mm-hmm.
I always tell students, don't forget about intramurals. They count.
Mm-hmm.
Don't forget about your religious affiliations. Yes, we are going to get rid of that high school, but I will say I always include if you're an Eagle Scout, 4-H, or FFA experience.
Mm-hmm.
I don't include everything you did in all of those anymore because hopefully, again, we're starting to backfill with things you're involved in now.
Mm-hmm.
As for skills sections, you can have that. Let's say you are in a career path that needs to show that you know how to use Adobe products.
Okay.
This is a great place to put that. Maybe you need a certification and you're on your way to getting an AI certification. You can have a section about that. But those two things are not necessary.
Mm-hmm.
So be careful with those in there. Otherwise, I would say you're good to go with those main sections of education, experience, and involvement.
Okay. Yeah, I know, for example, maybe a student got a certificate of inclusive leadership or something like that. That would be great to put in to the skills section. I think one of the things, too, that, I'm way out of high school, but I was a state 4-H officer. So I still include that on my resume because that is, I think that shows my path of leadership. And so I think you made a really great point there to include the highlights. You want to, your resume should be a highlight reel if you're thinking about it in terms of a trailer or a movie. So, so those sections, that's good advice too. So in those sections, a lot of students say, my resume looks really boring. And, how can students make it stand out?
I get that. And I completely understand the feeling of making it, of feeling boring, but also knowing I need to make sure that I stand out.
Mm-hmm.
So there are tips and tricks like using some keywords from the job description in your resume. That's a big deal. So what's going to happen to this document is you're going to apply online or you're going to send this to somebody in person. What is top of mind? The job description.
Mm-hmm.
A computer, if you've applied online, is going to go down it and scan for those keywords. And mentally, if you sent it to somebody, that's what they're thinking of. You want to be top of mind. So that's the number one way of standing out.
Okay.
But my other suggestions are using bold correctly, using underlines in different places. Maybe you want a long line underneath your header with your address and your name. Using those types of things make you stand out. I would say most of the employers I work with, if not all of them, say no color, absolutely no pictures, nothing like that. They're happy to connect with you on LinkedIn where your picture is, but they don't really want to see it on your resume. The easiest thing and the quickest thing to be able to read it fast is just using bold and underline.
Okay. So let me just follow up on something.
When you're ready to graduate, you're moving to a different community and you want to find somebody and just say, hey, I'm moving to this community. Do you have any advice for me?
Okay. Yeah.
Online networking, LinkedIn is your professional online networking site. I highly, highly recommend it. It's a way to connect with your faculty right now. If you go to a conference, you can connect with those people right then and there. It's a fantastic place to be. If you want help creating that, again, that's what we're here for. There are a lot of tips and different things we can dig into to really make you stand out in there, but it's a must-have in my book. Okay.
That's great advice. You've touched on this a little bit, but as I'm teaching an interpersonal skills for a leadership class, is there a place to highlight interpersonal skills and leadership? And if so, which section that you talked about, but how should they do that? What's the most effective way?
Ooh, that's a really good question. So a lot of people, okay, I'm going to back up for a second. Like I said, interpersonal skills are one of the top 6 things every employer looks for. Leadership skills are right in there. There's a lot of research based behind these types of things. They're in those top 6, 8 skills and paths that everybody says, those are soft skills, those are employability skills, those are everything. A lot of times students will say, well, it should go in my skills section. Actually, an employer says, okay, well, you've listed this, but prove it. Prove to me you have leadership skills. So I would not say put it in a skills section. I would say put it in an experience where you've used it.
Okay.
So if it's in your experience section with a bullet point explaining your what, how, why of how you were and served as a leader. What did you do? If you used it in one of your involvement, like in that involvement section, feel free to put a bullet underneath one of those involvement pieces with your what, how, why of how you worked as a team or whatever it was. That's how I would really highlight those and sell yourself with that.
Okay. All right. What I'm hearing you say there then is it sounds like ALEC courses are great for students to take in terms of boosting that resume, but also giving you some of that knowledge that you need.
Absolutely.
Great.
Fantastic.
Great. So, well, just today as we sort of wrap up, I do have one additional question. All right. So you've given the students some great recommendations, and I appreciate you taking the time. But let's say a student, they're excited and they want to update their resume, but they still want some help. So what are some services that you can offer to them?
Okay. So how can a student find help? Absolutely. That's what we're here for. I'm part of a whole team university-wide and college-wide. So if you're part of CASNR, we have the CASNR Career Center. We're full of a resource team. There's me that you can see almost daily. You can make an appointment with me on my plan. You can ask big questions. If it's a resume or a cover letter or something of that nature, I'm going to encourage you to visit with one of our peer coaches. We have peer coaches and a peer coach team that host resume labs every week, multiple times a week. And they host one-on-one times as well in my plan. They are your experts. They are right where you guys are. They have an understanding of who you are. And they're just a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
So start with them. Then Mary Beth Helmick is with us every Tuesday. You can find appointments with Mary Beth in my plan as well. So I think the key here is my plan.
Okay.
Unless you want to go to a resume lab, which will get you some information on how to attend those.
Okay.
So we've got a whole team, but then each can drop by a resume lab through the UNL Career Services office. There's a lot of places you can go for help. That's what we're here for. You're never expected to know all the ins and the outs of the job search, internship search. How do I go about my career development so that I land a job before I graduate? Mm-hmm. All those things are possible. That's what we're here for. So let's start with your resume. Hit up one of our resume labs or a peer coach. If you've got more intense questions, that's what we're here for. So hit up Mary Beth or me, and we're always happy to help.
Right. Well, we're going to provide some information to students on how to do that. And so, Julie, I really appreciate your time today. You've given us some great things to think about as we move forward with the resume, and maybe you're finding yourself with some downtime. And if you do have that downtime now, what a great way to spend some of that and really work on resume, because this is something you're going to need moving forward. And so, I just appreciate your time today. And if students have other questions, I hope they do reach out to you. Or if for whatever reason you can't find contact information, please let me know, and I'm glad to help too. But again, just really appreciate everything you do for students and everything that you do to help students find that great full-time job or full-time internship or whatever they're looking for. So thanks for being with us today.
No problem. I can't wait to see everybody.
Sounds great. Well, thanks for tuning in today, and get to work on your resume. Have a good day.